On this episode of Star Trek Universe, Matt and I will be reviewing Star Trek Discovery 506, Whistlespeak, after these sound cures from our mystery compeers.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, podcast where you listen in on two lifelong friends chatting about Star Trek. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I am David C. Roberson.
Hey Dave, how you doing, bud?
I'm okay. I'm a little shaky, a little worse for wear and tear.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That's no good.
Little bleary.
I'm
the girl with the faraway eyes is what I am.
Well, that is new information to me.
Yeah.
I had a pretty good day. I planted my peach tree.
Ooh.
That was nice. Finally got old pea shack in the ground.
Uh-huh. Why is it called Pea Shack again?
It was a Georgia peach tree. Georgia Bell peach tree. And so Paige wanted to name him after a Georgia actor, and she thought of Meshack Taylor, and it being a peach tree. I said, no, Pea Shack Taylor. And that stuck. And his name is Pea Shack.
I regret asking entirely.
Yeah. I was
like, this will be an interesting story. I was wrong.
Yeah. You'd heard it before. That was all your fault.
Well, I forgot, you know?
I do know.
Damn ADHD brain. I don't know anything. It's probably like dolphining as you were telling me.
Well, we have a new episode of Discovery to discuss. What did you think? What did you think of Whistlespeak?
I am really happy for anyone who liked this episode.
That sounds evasive.
No, it's really just, prelude to me saying I thought this was pretty terrible.
Huh. I thought it was pretty fine. I don't know about terrible. I did want more from it, I think. And I enjoyed the concept. It's just like, why would they leave these towers on a planet? Yeah, I just want to start punching holes in everything. When we get in this mode where we both kind of didn't like one, I just want to punch holes in everything, which is not a lot of fun, really. But I enjoyed. There's one real shining moment for me, and that was Book and Culber sitting and having a conversation at the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
It got me really emotional, actually.
Really?
Yeah, when he's talking about that's one flaw in you humans, is that you feel the need to something isn't as special unless someone else shares it with you.
Yeah.
It's sort of,
you can't just have something for yourself.
Yeah. It can't be special just because it's for you.
Yeah.
It has to be
you refer to it as an odd quirk among humans.
Yeah.
Which I like better than flaw.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I bring it up.
I agree. Just thinking of what I didn't remember the exact wording, but I really liked it.
Yeah.
So it's cool. And it got me kind of emotional thinking about that is a thing that we experience, and it reminded me of a Extraordinaire song, which you know. There's a line that says she longed for someone else to share it with, to validate her bliss.
Oh, yeah.
And I've always loved that line. But it's like this idea that we want validation that the thing we love, the thing that's important to us is important. Is it can't just be something within us and be at peace with that. We need to seek that validation. And I thought that was a really poignant moment. And for whatever reason, it got me emotional. I liked it.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I didn't hate the conversation with Book.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate everything about the episode either. It was just a lot of what the hell are we doing? Kind of, sort of, I was confused because they said it was like a drought planet, and that's why the Denobulans set up those like the rain towers and shit.
Yeah.
But like the vegetation was like really, really nice. It looked like it had been raining a pretty good bit.
No, it's a drought everywhere else. You got that right? Okay, so the tower.
I need to get that right? Is that there's suddenly like a wonderful forest that gets rain?
Yeah, but that's exactly it. There were 5 towers that made the whole planet more habitable.
Right.
But outside of the force field that keeps the water in, the outside world is, so it's been there for thousands of years, growing plant life, thriving ecosystem. But they've, through these towers, but like the outside of that, it's just the dust storms keep everything from, keep human life from being possible, basically. And I didn't really explain exactly because you don't see this part of the planet, but they talk about how they're working to push back the dust storms. So I guess the dust storms are at the edge of their land, like, and they're having to work to keep the dust at bay, which is why that lady was like coughing.
How do you keep dust at bay when if it's a fucking storm? Like, well,
the storm stops at their borders, but I'm assuming this is a thing that happens. You know that deserts grow. So I'm assuming like deserts over time can like expand into further, like basically the sand keeps floating around and like expanding to over more space, and so deserts can get bigger and bigger. So I'm assuming they're trying to prevent their land from becoming the desert, and like so they're having to keep the storms from invading their land or something. That's what it seemed like they were talking about. They were talking about how they all have to work together to keep the dust away.
Well, you know what I'm talking about is like it just seemed like there was a whole lot of land that was well watered.
Yeah.
For them to be talking about how like, oh, we need the rains to come, and then when we got to sacrifice somebody, and then when we sacrifice, or they think it sacrifices, it starts raining there. I was like, is it a big deal that it's raining there? Because it looks like it's been raining there.
No, I think it's been raining there, but they believe the sacrifice is necessary to keep it raining. It's just an old like superstition. This is literally a thing that like early civilizations did. They like sacrifice people to the gods to keep the rains coming, you know?
I know the sacrifice is a bullshit thing, but the machine that keeps the planet going is not.
Right.
So there should be some sort of logic to there doesn't have to be logic to it. It's fucking discovery. I mean, there's no logic to anything.
I mean, you can easily headcanon the idea that these like people, like let's say one time someone went into that chamber after like they said it's been like breaking down. So let's say like it was breaking down 100 years ago, and one time somebody went into that chamber and died, and suddenly it was a good rain, and those two things correlated, and they were like, I guess that's what the gods want, and they just started feeding it people to it, you know. I thought that, and obviously they held back on that because it was supposed to be a twist, but I knew it was coming from the minute they said it was a race. I was like, oh, whoever wins gets sacrificed. Like I knew it from the very first time they talked about a race.
And like the only people this would not be a twist for would be people who have never seen an episode of any TV at all. Or had never read a book.
Well, and it was because the father was really telegraphing it with his like not wanting his daughter to do it, even though it's like an honor. Like
even before that, when the old woman's like, I like to think about my friend, what we would be like if we got old together. I'm like,
yeah, what happened to your friend? Why it is like you guys ran the race together and she's no longer here. So yeah, it was all pretty clear and telegraphed. So nothing too shocking there. I mean, like you said, it's tough. So I think about this episode. It's a bummer because I keep talking about how much I want Discovery to take its time and have like good internal stories to each episode, you know. And I do think they're trying to do that. Last week was like a middling one, and this one just felt like not particularly like anything special about this episode. It felt like an episode we've seen a million times where they have to go to a planet. They're hiding their technology from people who they have to like somehow convince not to do the terrible thing. Of course, she just went ahead and like decided to tell the guy about the technology and try to change them. Of course, if they don't, the planet's going to collapse or whatever. So
there's also a caveat in the Prime Directive where you can interfere if the planet's already been corrupted.
Right. Yeah. So I guess the fact that they're sacrificing people to the Denoblian technology, it probably gives them a fair,
It's a nice little lesson for this clue to be like, hey, by the way, messing around with technology, that could really cause some shit.
Yeah.
Gotta be responsible.
That's already such a big part of why they hid the thing. Like, I feel like anyone knowing that they hid it, that's a pretty built-in lesson. Like, we're hiding it because you gotta, be careful. But also, like, they didn't know. So the whole idea that each one of these comes with a lesson. Mm-hmm. Sure. Some of them feel like stretches. Some of them feel very obvious. And this one, like, did they know that they were putting these there so that the people's technology would collapse and eventually they would create a sacrifice cult? You know what I mean? Like,
I don't think the original Denobulans thought that, but the Denobulan scientist who left the clue knew that it had already happened.
Okay. So these towers weren't built 800 years. I thought they said the towers were built 800 years ago by this clue giver.
No, not by the clue giver, but by the Denobulans who wanted to help out another species like them.
Right. A much more like earlier time, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know if they were like the Denobulans were in the Federation or in the Starfleet, or if they answered to the Prime Directive or whatnot. I did a podcast. I did an episode of that Star Trek podcast. I don't know when they're going to post it, but it was on this episode. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of people, I think Nick Yeager was saying that, like, yes, they said that they were a part of the Federation or something at the time, and they broke the Prime Directive to do it. I'm not sure. I don't. Yeah, I didn't know if they had broken the Prime Directive, the Denobulans did on purpose, or if it was just like we are not part of the Federation, and here we are doing our thing that we want to do.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Which they did it in secret. They said in this episode it could have been they did this in secret. I guess they were part of the Federation because they said they did it in secret to keep them away from from breaking the Prime Directive.
Oh. Okay. I feel like they're trying to, like, maybe bring in, like, an idea of the sacrifice and all of this, like, bullshit religious belief. You could say it's, like, thematically lining up with Locke's, the Breen thing, where, like, the Breen think that he's of royal blood and is, heresy to hold the solid shape, and because you should be in the more evolved form. I don't know.
I don't see that connection, and the fact that they weren't even in this episode, I don't think that's an intentional connection.
Well, it's also like thematic across the season, I guess, maybe, but it's weak.
Yeah,
I'm trying to give it more credit than it deserves.
Yeah, I really think this episode felt like a pretty paint by numbers Star Trek episode that had a few interesting moments in it. Like I said, I love the Colburn book moment, and I enjoyed the moment with what's David Lynch's character's name? Kovich. I really enjoyed his little moment, and the 21st century legal pad that he's using, and then he's like, "Where'd you get that?" I'm resourceful. I feel like I hated
that shit.
I feel like that is more like clues to the fact that he somehow has time travel technology or time travel access. Maybe he still like has access to some of the temporal war type stuff, but like I don't know. I'm if we knew this was the final season of this show, I could totally see Kovich being sort of like a big bad hiding in plain sight sort of guy. Like he's been doing crazy time travel stuff and they're going to end up having to stop him,
Yeah.
But like the fact that they don't know this is the final season just feels like it's another Easter egg to something we're never going to really know about.
Yeah, it's frustrating to me because it's like we are watching episode by episode, Michael and the crew painstakingly getting every clue and trying to figure it out. And like, though it was made such a big deal, like we don't know the names of these scientists because they purposefully they erased their names from the databases. And then you have, Day-X Cronenberg pop up and be like, here's my legal pad. I'm resourceful. Also, I have all the names of the scientists. Don't ask me how I got it, but I'm resourceful. And it just pisses me off. It's such a sloppy, shitty way of doing it. And maybe the legal pad is some sort of clue that he is doing time travel. Maybe he went back in time to before the scientists were able to erase their names and got the name.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever,
so I think that's what they're kind of alluding to is this information they didn't have last time they spoke, and he somehow used time travel to seek it out. And I think that's interesting. By the way, you gotta call me out when I'm wrong. I said David Lynch. You knew it was Cronenberg. I was like,
oh, you know what? I didn't. It didn't. My brain registered the same.
It's just a director.
I didn't even realize you were wrong. Yeah, it was Cronenberg.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's a cool thing, and one thing we got a clear view of all. Also, aren't there 8 people in this thing? I thought it was a group of 8 scientists. Or am I making that up? There's only 5 in there's only 5 in on this list. Janal Bix, which is the Trill, Carmen Cho, who's Terran, and that's the one from the ISS Enterprise.
She became a branch admiral in the 24th century.
Yeah, Velik was a Romulan that we dealt with in the first episode of the first challenge.
He did.
He did. Did you say he did?
He did.
They all did. Marina Derex, which I guess is the next one.
Yeah, that they named after Marina Sirtis, who plays Troy. She's Betazoid.
That's cute. That's cute.
Good job, Discovery writers.
Way to be referential.
You're just like Lower Decks. Oh, you're good finally.
Lord. But yeah, it's a pretty it's a pretty, fine little Trek episode, but no new ground is broken, and the only things that are kind of interesting are the little character moments that are just all right.
And they're not even good character moments. Yeah, it's like Adira is on the bridge. I don't give a shit. I thought Adira had been on the bridge. Yeah,
I did not recall that Adira had not been on the bridge. I will say, still I gotta praise, and we get shit for not liking the show. I think this episode's not a great representation of the show, but or it's not representing it well. But I do love that Culbertson book conversation. It was really great, really touching, and I liked his thing right after that. Well, are you guys gonna get back together? Can you recapture that magic? And he's like, one answer at a time, Doc.
Yeah,
it was good. It's cute.
What bothers me about the Culber storyline is why the hell didn't Culber do those brain scans on him on himself right after he got done with the Trill stuff, instead of going around talking to a hologram of his grandmother or talking to all these various people on the ship. Why not contact the people at the council on Trill and be like, hey man, is this normal? Why would it not occur to him as a doctor to scan his damn self way earlier, not episodes and episodes into it?
Yeah. I mean, possibly, but in the end, that wasn't even fruitful. I think he's feeling emotions, and he was hoping this conversation with his grandmother gave him the chance for hope that it wasn't just his emotions, that he wasn't feeling this distance from Stamets. But then this sort of reveals that, I am just feeling this distance. And Stamets is very sweet here. Stamets is like, yeah, you should enjoy it. This is great. I'm a man of science. I don't want to like that's not my bag, baby. But like, I got all these myceliums running through me. So, you get your spirituality where you can.
Which Culber's been supposedly going through this off and on, depending on whether the writers want to remember it or not, since he died and came back in season 2, 1,
right.
So it's kind of like, what are we doing with Culber? Like, now that he's had an experience on Trill, suddenly like, my spirituality again.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's something that people go through, where like, if you've had a spiritual side to your life, and then you get with a partner that doesn't have that, and you sort of like close down to it, or feel, like you're living the life that you guys have chose to live together. It doesn't include a lot of spirituality. And then over time you start to miss it, or things kind of drift back into your mind or whatever. I don't think that's a huge flaw. I think it's just a way that people have sort of recursive issues in their life,
So one of the things that really bothered me about the episode was they introduced the Whistlespeak and did nothing with it.
Yeah.
Not even in the climax, when you would think they're in the place, they're suffocating, and they should probably whistle instead of humming.
Yeah,
because they thematically tied back.
Exactly that. It did feel like, and the episode is called Whistlespeak. Is that?
Yeah.
Is there any kind of reference I'm missing there? Whistlespeak.
No.
Because it just feels like that is such a tacked on element that they were like, hey, we did a Whistlespeak thing. It's a different kind of language. It's like, that's not that weird. And yeah, I don't know, man. Some people juggle geese. This is not that high level. Literally, I used to do this. When I had my vocal cord surgery, I came up with a system with my girlfriend that certain whistles meant certain things. Like a whistle like meant yes, or I would do like a downward whistle to mean no. Like, it was a way of communicating. So it just doesn't feel like so alien. To be impressed with yourself enough to like name the episode, that feels like the fact that the episode is named Whistlespeak, unless there's some reference I'm missing, feels like they knew how devoid this episode was of something original. Yeah. It's like, hey, we don't have much in this episode, but we got that Whistlespeak thing, and it's like, that's not much. You're right, that is not much.
Yeah, and Michael being all excited about it at the beginning, and like excitedly whispering, look at this, they even have a word for dust. And I was like, oh, dust will come up later.
Well, no, dust was a word for pain, which I kind of liked, actually. They said they have 6 words for pain, and they named them, and one of the words for pain was dust, because that's how they encounter. So it was a clue to the fact that dust was the thing that they're having to deal with, and then we see the lady choking on dust a moment later.
Yeah, maybe they should have cracked into those 50 gallons of water they had floating around that they were reserving for the race.
Good point. I don't think water gets dust out of your lungs, though.
Yeah, no,
that's not how that works.
Like sound bowls do.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool, because they say what we need
it's
here.
Too bad they dropped it right after they did it, and we never saw it again. It never made a damn difference again.
Right, it wasn't something that we needed later. But I thought it was interesting because it showed the sort of ingenuity of the people or whatever, and coming up with the way that technology develops is always interesting on these kinds of worlds, because depending on what their struggle is, they develop different kinds of technology, and this group has developed a very weird sound surgery almost, because that's what they need to be able to get the dust out, instead of developing all the other technology and then at the end being oh yeah, we can just send a cutaneous sound through their body. Shit. It's no, we just jumped to that with these bowls. We're just doing the thing that Michael wanted to do to begin with.
It looks like they accidentally stumbled upon a sound cure one day while they were trying to mash an avocado.
Yeah, man, you got to get that guac. There's plenty of rain. It's like rainy and sunny in this land. It's the land of avocados.
Yeah.
Actually, I think avocados grow in they do require a lot of water, don't they?
I don't know.
I know it's like a eco thing that like avocados are like some ridiculous amount of water to grow one avocado, and then out where they grow them in like California and stuff, it's like they cannot spare that water. I don't know. I've just heard a podcast on it once. Don't really know what's going on.
Okay,
but I heard a podcast once. We got any feedback? We got any feedback on this episode? Or has everyone given up on our coverage of Discovery?
Stuart Little says, "Greeting, compeers. I trust your lungs aren't too dusty today."
I've been farming all day, so pretty dusty, actually. Pretty dusty. Got a little dust bowl action in my backyard. We dug up all the plants in the beds to like get ready to plant some flowers, and I planted my peach tree, and so dealt with a lot of dust today.
All right.
Dust is pain.
Stu says, "What if the clue had been an ice sculpture that simply melted because the freezer it was stored in broke?" That would be awesome.
Yeah, pretty good.
It was also like already so out of... It's like the scientist was like, well, I'm going to have a random number on a vial of distilled water and erase my name from the project and just hope that some asshole with a legal pad fetish is very resourceful. And there was a lot of ifs there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't dependent on whether or not the right people came along and figured this clue out.
This feels like the most stretch of this little puzzle, and it required Kovich to just be like, hey, here.
Yeah.
It is pretty bad.
It was bad. Stu continues, "Not going to Denobula robs us of a potential cameo by an 1100-year-old Dr. Phlox. His species is extremely long-lived." Well, I don't think it robs us of anything, Stu. You know, he's been talking to Strange New Worlds people. I think he fits in better over there. I don't want to see Phlox pop up in the 32nd century.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it doesn't rob us because we don't own that. We're not entitled to that, Stu.
I feel robbed. I'm with you, Stu.
I'm getting so tired of fan entitlement.
I stand with Stu.
Stu says, "I want to know how that legal pad survived World War III and a millennium intact as well. It wasn't even yellowing." Well, it was yellowing because it was a yellow legal pad.
It was a yellow legal pad. I mean, but I do think it would have looked a little different with that age. But I think it's time travel, right? It's got to be time travel.
Yeah, unless there's like one really hipster 32nd century like retro company making.
No. He said it was
their own trees.
He said it was a 21st century pad, like specifically. He says it's from the 21st century, which is why she was like, "How did you get this?" And he's like, "I'm resourceful."
Yeah, I'm gonna be pissed if the reason the aesthetic of TOS is no longer in play is just because Kovich had to go back and get a legal pad.
That's it. That's actually the end of the that maybe the end or the beginning of the Temporal Wars is Kovich wanting a legal pad. I just like the feel of paper, man. I start and end civilizations over it.
Yeah. A Betazoid scientist called Marina. I see what you did there.
Mm-hmm.
Use plot and summation. I feel weirdly happy because I am. You doing okay, book? Riveting. I agree with you, Stu. I could play that game too, Matt. I'm with you, Stu.
Wait, what's he talking? Which conversation is he talking about? I don't think he's talking about the one I am.
He's just talking about Hugh saying, "I feel weirdly happy because I am. You doing okay, book? Riveting." He's being sarcastic.
Yeah. I just
he did not find it riveting.
Well, I think he's talking about a different place, but yeah. I'm talking about the very end. I think they talked earlier in the episode is what he's talking about.
They did.
This is a chronological notation on the episode, I believe.
Maybe.
I don't even think Stu's on the planet yet.
Stu says, we can't disobey the Prime Directive. Well, could you start by not loudly whisper talking about it so much around these people? I'm for, Michael, disobeying the Prime Directive here.
Yeah, I think it was a fair disobedience.
I kind of she was like, nothing I've told you means that your gods aren't real. But I kind of wish she'd just gone full-blown Kirk and been like, no, your gods are a fucking lie.
Yeah.
They're just not real at all.
Yeah. Your gods were just a guy from 800 years ago or whatever.
Listen, what is your god's name? He goes, Landrew, of course. Ah, we've heard of that bastard. Oh, God. Stu says, looks like someone needs Brondo. It's what plants crave. It's got electrolytes. Throwing a race deliberately is still losing. I'm counting it as a rare Michael defeat. Also, her having to reconfigure isolinear chips on the control panel feels like karma for repeatedly leaving subordinates the more tedious work while she goes on away missions every damn time. By the way, yeah, I stand by what Stu's saying here, and also a little bit, and also, Adira's I think this should be someone,
more qualified.
I agree. Don't stop trying to, Michael, stop, smiling at Adira as, a freaking proud school marm as the kid, scribbles and stumbles their way through long division on the board. This person's in Starfleet. They've been on Discovery for years now. Mm-hmm. It's time to stop being Reg Barkley, essentially.
Well, I don't think they've been Reg Barkley up till now.
Yeah, Reg was entertaining.
I think Adira has just been whatever. Their confidence has been shaken since the whole time bug incident, but it doesn't feel very well earned, the whole plot line.
Adira's confidence has been shaken since the first time Adira was on screen.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
The time bug is just the most recent excuse.
Yeah, for sure.
And like I said, I totally thought they had been on the bridge the whole time. I didn't know this was a new thing that new pointy ears was pushing her into.
Yeah, I really didn't either.
Oh, Stu says, in retrospect, with the sacrifice twist, are we so sure Dabba didn't prevent Tilly quitting and deliberately drop their bowl before the end so she could live? Also to the people watching Tilly help Dabba finish. Who is Dabba?
Is that not the girl, the person who was also running the race?
I guess it has to be based on the context, but their name was not Dabba.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what Dabba is. That's what the joke is. It seems like it's a joke. It must seem like this adult outsider really wanted this teenager to die. No wonder their dad ignored Tilly when she was shouting for him to hold up as the doors were closed. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't think, obviously it would seem that way maybe, but
I thought for sure they were going to go with it. Their mother was killed as well in the same way, because the way they were so devoted to the ideals of this and her wanting to follow in her mother's footsteps, and then him having to reckon with the fact that he had killed her mother unnecessarily would have been a really nice moment, and I thought that's where they were going, but they didn't. Having to get over, I think actually that's a really poignant message to have in an episode that isn't as common, and it's more human, and it's something we're facing right now, is when you've done something terrible, or voted for someone terrible, and then you end up with this sunk cost fallacy, of this is the decision I've made, and it's the one I'm making forever, and it's people are doing that all over the world right now, and it's disturbing. And I think that would be an interesting, that would have been a really interesting conversation to have with him, where he's no, I've done this. This is the way I've lived. I killed my own wife over this. Like if this isn't real, what am I? Like, make him deconstruct that would have been interesting, but they didn't take the time to do it. And I feel like it was all there. I don't know why they didn't. It felt like maybe they took it out. I don't know. It felt very much like they were going there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just weak and possibly scared storytelling. But by the way, this society does have specifically like 3 genders or something. They said,
and they called the child they throughout the episode.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming they're part of the 3rd gender.
Yeah. Which is fun because, as I said on the other podcast, it's nice to see that even a crazy religious woo-woo dirt cult respects the non-binaries.
Well, they called that out in this episode. They were like, yeah, it's interesting they have this like kind of, evolved sense of all of that and like openness to all of that, but they're still in like the pre-industrial era.
Yeah, I think it's nice. Like, we're willing to sacrifice people to our gods, but we're not gonna misgender them.
That's right.
By the way, I should throw out there. My wife Bethany came up with the term "woo-woo dirt cult." And we were talking about the episode earlier, and I just like that. I like that phrase.
It's good.
Phrase.
It's good.
Stu says, I wouldn't exactly call this a filler episode given they found another clue and whatnot, but there was something a bit lesser about it. Maybe just because it was less flashy than what I've seen recently, and after an episode that revealed what the Breen looked like and had some Mirror Universe stuff, a fun run leading to sacrificial ceremony seems a bit mild.
Yeah.
Also, I know they put Culber through the ringer in seasons 1 and 2, but I think he could be doing something a little more exciting than low-key mental health awareness plot lines. Who knows? Maybe we'll tap into all the knowledge of that Trill and be a jack of all trades who goes on the missions more. No, I don't think so. I think they're just doing Culber sad because he's happy.
I don't think it's sad because he's happy. I think it's sad because he feels alone. And that's what was so powerful, I think, of that last conversation. He feels alone. And, Book pointed out, like, that's Michael too. She, even though she doesn't realize loneliness has been like something that's been with her entire life, she's always been alone. And I think that's I just really like this episode was middling, but I love that conversation. Whatever spark of like creativity they gave them that conversation is more of what I want from the show. Like really like talk about the human condition in these interesting ways that inform about multiple characters on the show through one short conversation. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, you got to whistle at people from across the great distance.
Maybe that's what whistle. Oh, we finally found it.
Yeah,
not a stretch at all.
Yeah,
Whistlespeak.
Like, we've got to share our experiences.
It's about whistling, loneliness, whistling.
That's why when you go in the supermarket, there's like all the old men are always walking around whistling because they're so lonely.
Well, and here's the thing: they could, if they wanted to go with this loneliness thing, they could have like tied that into this idea of when they're having the conversation on the planet with the father. They could be like, he could be like, no, this is my entire community is like everything I have ever known is this, and every person in my community is this. And he talks about how like it's caused chaos, but like if he'd driven away the point, like me and my child would be exiled for this, we like, but like, and have like that, but your child would be alive, and maybe you can make a change, but like maybe that loneliness is worth it if that's the right thing to do, or if it's the right thing for you. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot that could have been done there to tie that loneliness plot thread together, but that was also not done. Just taking my favorite part of the episode and saying how they could have tied it better.
Well, that's it for this episode. We do have a piece of feedback from Tim Castillo
Tim.
for last week's episode. You want to go and do that,
Sure.
or has he lost his chance?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to be the bastard.
Not his fault that we were like crazy fast last week.
Yeah.
We were not crazy fast last week. We actually recorded earlier, and then I edited the thing, and something was wrong with my software. It just kept exporting and failing. I exported the podcast 15 times. It took me 2 days to finally get it exported. I kept. It takes 20 minutes to export. I'd hit export. I'd go do something, and then come back to the podcast, and it would have failed for one reason or another. And it was different reasons. So I kept resolving an issue, hitting export, and then it would fail again. And I was like, this is it fails maybe once every 10 exports will fail. Just happens. But normally you hit it again and it does fine. But this was just 15 in a row. It just kept failing. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Not fun.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry we got it out so early last week. But not as late as Tim got his feedback in. So let's hear what Tim has to say.
That's true. Tim messed up more than we did. Tim says, I had to reflect on this one.
Oh, so he wasn't messing up. He was just having
then he said,
time of reflection.
Mirrors.
Oh.
Mirrors.
Oh,
Tim.
You get it? Oh, Tim.
He says, hey guys, bringing the Enterprise from the mirror dimension into the future is a cool idea. I just wish we could have gotten a little bit of Spock and Kirk, or possibly other crew, at least in a video log, rather than the reading something. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm still okay with it.
Would have been nice. It would have been hard to do right.
Mm-hmm.
Which I
think it would have taken away from the episode.
Oh, I don't.
I honestly also kind of think the ISS being there in the first place kind of takes away from the episode.
Well, I think the ISS being there and not feeling like it was a big part of the story. That's why I think I mentioned this on last week's episode that I thought we might get more of the ISS Enterprise this week, because about halfway through the episode, I was sitting there watching and I was like, oh, well, this must be the episode where they find the ISS Enterprise, get it out, and then next week they'll be studying it or something, and they'll find out some cool stuff. Or my favorite theory was that maybe some crew member was in the transporter buffers, because they had all those cots and stuff hanging out in the transporter room, and I was like, maybe they're giving a clue that something's going on and they need to look into the transporter room. I had all these theories going on in my head, and then at the end of the episode, which you reminded me of on the podcast, no, they say that they've taken it off to a different part of the quadrant to be studied, and I'm like, oh, well, that didn't happen at all. I felt like it was the ISS part of the episode was really underserved.
Yeah. Almost like there was no reason for it at all.
Almost. Although I did love the plaque, and I liked the idea that they made it to the Prime Universe. I do really enjoy it, the overall ending of it, and what was presented to us. But if you're gonna go Mirrorverse, go Mirrorverse. You know what I mean? Let me really get into the Mirrorverse of it all. Don't show me a bunch of Mirrorverse in the background while you tell a completely different story around it, But I say all that but I do enjoy the episode. I do enjoy that one's, to me, far better than this week's.
Yeah. Tim says, I was totally lost in the fact that the relic had been on the Enterprise until the end of the episode. I forget who said what, but I just remember thinking, really? It was hidden in the Enterprise from the mirror dimension? What? I must have missed some other explanations as to what the heck was going on there.
Oh,
I just thought Mock and Law had found it wherever it had been and then got stuck in this middle dimension by accident. Being able to physically see the anomaly just by adjusting some ship sensors didn't make much sense to me. Normally that requires shooting tachyon or metreon particles or some such thing. Yeah, because that makes a lot of sense, Tim. That and the transparent view screens made me feel like there are writers that don't care much about the rules of the universe of Star Trek. It's an annoyance, but I can't really fault the episode for that, I suppose, especially the view screens. I know that's been established in Disco and Strange New Worlds canon. I still don't care for it. I mean, it's been established in old Trek, they had transparent aluminum.
Yeah, but that's
instead of
different.
glass.
That's different than the transparent view screens, which has never been wasn't a thing prior to this.
It was. I think they did it in Nemesis.
I don't remember. Maybe,
but it's been long enough.
Sure, it's fine. It's they're 800 years in the future. Like it's fine. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, it's fine.
But
it's
Disco's not. Disco's not from 800 years in the future, and definitely Strange New Worlds is not. But yeah, I digress.
Yeah. As far as the story for the episode, I liked it. It was expected, but well done. And now we know for sure that the Breen are going to be a heavy. It was assumed already, I know, but confirmation is enjoyable. I have been pleasantly surprised at how much more they have been integrating the less central members of the crew this season. I was convinced that the 20 words we got from them in episode were the extra crew quota for the season, but no, we got more. It's a little ham-fisted from time to time, but it does add more life and consequential weight to the lives on the ship, and I definitely appreciate that. This season is looking up to be possibly my favorite since season 2. There are still things to be discovered, but it seems more like filling in details rather not knowing any of the picture at all as it has felt in previous seasons. Let's fly. Yeah. Okay, I guess you can have it, Burnham. You win.
You win.
Will we ever get more Fred? I kind of want more Fred. Who the hell's Fred?
That's a good question. Who is Fred?
I don't know. I don't remember Fred. Maybe we'll look that up real quick. Fred, Star Trek, Discovery. Oh, that was the Soong type android. No, he did.
Oh, yeah, Fred. Sorry. I totally forgot his name, but yeah, that's, they killed him. Which was a bummer. I thought that was a really cool, I love the fact that, like, he was an ancient model. You know what I mean? Like, because Data being such a, like, on the edge of positronic, whatever, that 800 years from now, like, oh man, this ancient, Soong type android here. I thought, I liked it. But yeah, I wish I do. I that's a piece of world building that I really wish they didn't kill him off.
Nah, I'm all right with
He's an android. He can come back.
I don't want him back. I'm good.
Maybe he'll come back as like a head inside of a chest or a belly, a la Zola or Krang.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'll take Fred back if we can get rid of Tilly, including for the Star Trek Starfleet Academy series.
Oh yeah, I would take Fred in as the a teacher at the Starfleet Academy.
Yeah, like because already we last season or whatever it was, she was like, how can I teach them? I can't take them to an ice planet all the time. Okay, and now she's back to being like, I don't know how to be a whatever at the. Yeah, you should probably just not be in Starfleet.
Well,
I've been saying that since season 1. You are just so awkward and ill-equipped for everything.
I don't know.
Until they decide to make like a Tilly is strong episode.
I think Tilly is fine. She's awkwardness, but like that doesn't really bother me. There's awkwardness in a lot of these characters, particularly in this show, even more so.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, she isn't, like, every once in a while they just decide, oh, yeah, she's not equipped for this, and she doesn't know how to do this, and that's her story for the episode is, I don't know how to do XYZ. And then they'll be like, and here's an episode where she's super strong, and she, like, talks down the Orion Empress lady, and she's a badass. Literally
every character on this show.
It's so aggravating.
Every character on this show is, like, except for maybe Book and Kovich. They have like crises of faith in themselves, and then they, like come around. Like that's like every character of the show in one way or another. And I do think that is a little overdone on this show. I think that is part of the problem with Discovery is that like they don't have the sort of Chad characters, to use the modern parlance.
What is the Chad character?
Yeah, let's look up Chad in the Urban Dictionary because I know.
Yeah, please.
I know what it means, but I don't know. I know what it means. It's like like a jock type character, as I guess what I'm trying to say, like an alpha male. That's people call those chads nowadays.
Oh,
but
well, I don't need an alpha male character. I just need.
Well, my point. I think you do. You don't think you need one?
No,
I think you do. You need the Riker. You need the Kirk. You need, like, the thing is, you can have every character doesn't need to have a constant crisis of who they are. You need or like they need to have it in different ways. And I think this show leans on the sort of like, I'm an awkward, fumbly guy, and I gotta be a badass now. But then there's characters like Riker or Picard or Kirk or like LeVar Geordi is that character. Mm-hmm. He's on the entire ship. Of the main crew, he is that one character who is awkward and then has to overcome that. You know what I mean?
Sort of, but I would say Reg Barkley was what they're doing.
That's why I said main crew. But yes, I don't think they're doing Reg Barkley every time. But
well, specifically with Adira and Tilly, and that's what bugs me is that they're featured heavily, and that's what they're doing. Like, I don't mind. Like, I don't usually like ever feel like any kind of like connection or need for like the macho alpha male character. They're usually my least favorite characters when they're on there.
I don't mean alpha male in the same way. I just mean like a self-assured person is all I mean.
I just want the people who are in Starfleet to actually have like some confidence in themselves, because for Christ's sake,
that's what I'm talking about.
Starfleet vessel.
I think you're disagreeing with me because I use the term alpha male. I just mean like they need to have self-assured people. It's Starfleet. Like, they need self-assured people is all I'm talking about. And like the majority of characters on the show, on most of these shows, are self-assured people. They just have differences and they have to solve the problems by learning to work together. Like, that's the whole thing. This show, it feels like a lot of the time it's just, can I get over my neurosis to like do the thing I need to do? And that isn't really how life works. Like, a lot of times when you have a neurotic problem, you just fail and then you learn from it and try to learn and do better next time. You know what I mean? Like, you don't always, I don't know. It just feels like not really how life works, and it feels overtired because so much of the show is that, including Burnham, who is, I think, one of the more self-assured characters on the show, but she's constantly sort of like questioning her ability to be the captain, you know? And like Kirk would do that, but like inside, you know what I mean? Like, you could tell he was questioning himself. If you read the books, he's questioning himself, but he's not doing that in front of the crew.
He would do it with McCoy. He would talk to McCoy.
He has few cheat codes, and really, that's more the movies, more so, right? Or does he?
Yeah. Well, no, in TOS, the early TOS especially, but like, I also think like it doesn't really bother me that Michael does that.
That she shares with the crew.
Yeah, no, everyone's got their different command style.
Like, I don't mind that she shares. I really don't, but like, it's just something about like showing confidence to the crew so that they can follow you, you know? But now we're just having the Rayner versus Burnham discussion again, basically. Like not letting, and it's the Picard thing of not letting him in too close because you need to seem like the captain to them.
Yeah, but that's also a thing that, like, in the beginning of TOS, that's how Kirk was, like, don't show your emotions and all this shit to your crew. But by the end of it, like, they all know each other. Yeah. Like, they're all good. Like,
yeah, well, I think that I think is the thing. It's like, it's supposed to sort of be a struggle. Like, I think it's a tension that exists in all of the other series that doesn't really exist here. And I think that is part of the problem of the show as well. And it goes with the problem of the lack of Chads.
Well, I mean, part of the issue is like they do like, oh, we're a family, we know each other so well. Cool. It's too bad the audience doesn't, because I kind of know these people's faces, but I don't know their names most of them.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know anything about their characters.
Anyway, I don't want to bitch about Discovery. I don't hate the show, but I just find its quirks a little annoying at times. And this week, since this episode didn't have much redeeming value for me, it feels the quirks are all there is to talk about.
Yeah, it's mid.
It's mid.
Whatever.
All right. Well, that's all I got to say. You got anything else, Dave?
Nope.
Cool.
Sorry if you guys hate us. I'm not really sorry. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm tired of holding my breath or holding my tongue on Discovery. It's just with each episode that disappoints me, it's just getting me more pissed off. Honestly, it's just like write a single episode that's worth a damn.
Yeah. It's fine. They have had great episodes that were imaginative and interesting, but they're really few and far between. And I feel like when you're up against a show like Strange New Worlds and you can name like 3 or 4 episodes like that from last season, then it starts to be like, oh, this is not what I'm looking for. This is not the show that I'm looking for.
Yeah. And I love it if you like it and love it. And
yeah, exactly. You just, sorry if we're not the podcast for your Discovery consumption. If hearing these different opinions is bothersome. All right. Well, Joel True.
Yeah. Live long, prosper.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Roberson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.